A black inmate quietly pulled a thin string from between his teeth. He kept tugging until he drew out a small package hidden inside his body, containing a tiny vial of gasoline and a match. Almost at the same time, two other dangerous prisoners in solitary cells slipped thin wires out of their palms. With practiced ease, they picked open their handcuffs. Inside the cage, Gerson exchanged a quick glance with his lieutenant. Pinar immediately understood the signal, splashed gasoline on the inmate sitting nearby, and tossed a lit match. The fire caused chaos, forcing the guards to unchain Pinar's shackles. Amid the confusion, Pinar snatched the keys from the guard's belt, pulled the lever, and unlocked the cage. Gerson rushed into the cockpit and overpowered the co-pilot who had stormed in with a gun. In the struggle, the co-pilot was killed, and Gerson then threatened the captain, forcing him to send a false message to ground control claiming everything was normal. At that moment, Gerson had complete control of the plane.
Welcome to Con Air.
This wasn't an ordinary flight. It was a high-security prison transport in the sky. On board were America's most ruthless criminals. Leading them was Gerson, a criminal mastermind with a high IQ and a textbook case of antisocial personality. At 39, he had already served 25 years, killed 11 inmates, escaped twice, and incited 3 prison riots. But among these violent men, there was one unlucky soul, Cage. He was just an ordinary prisoner whose sentence was almost up, and he was only on this flight by coincidence. 8 years ago, after Cage had been out of the service for a while, his wife found out she was pregnant. One night, he was harassed by 3 thugs. At first, he tried to take the beating, but eventually fought back in self-defense. Unfortunately, during the struggle, Cage accidentally killed one of the attackers, and he was sentenced to 7 to 10 years in prison. Even so, Cage never gave up. In prison, he trained his body and mind, determined to reunite with his wife and daughter after release. Finally, on his daughter's 8th birthday, he was granted parole and boarded this unusual transfer flight. He was supposed to be free during a routine layover, but things took a terrifying turn when Gerson and his men hijacked the plane in an escape attempt. Cage was speechless, yet he still had a chance to slip away. Gerson planned to land at the scheduled stop, exchange prisoners, and take on board the son of a powerful mob boss. Once the deal was done, the mob boss would reward him with a fortune, guaranteeing his freedom. But just before landing, Cage made a choice. He decided to stay, because one of his closest friends was still trapped on the plane. The plane touched down as planned, and the airport was already swarming with police. Gerson disguised himself as a guard, gagged the real officers, and covered their faces so they would pass for prisoners. Silently, he escorted the exchange inmates on board. Among them, however, was one man so terrifying that even the most hardened criminals on the plane felt a chill.